Hey everybody, got another video here for you. Okay, taking a look at the nut shelf here. It's going to need some sanding on this edge and just a little bit of cleanup on that side too. And I used to have a specially made little sanding block just for this task, but that burned up in the old shop fire, at the old shop. So it looks like I need to make a little custom tool. Okay, time to check the height of this nut shelf. Take the nut, you place it up there in the little intersection between the shelf and up against the end of this. You tilt it forward because the leading edge of a Floyd rose actually tilts back this way a little bit. And the intonation point is actually even tilted back a little bit more from there. So you want this thing butted up against the end of the fingerboard, and then the back end needs to tilt up a little bit because of that. So you butt it up there, then you take an extremely thin straight edge, such as a fret pulling guard, and you stick it on the number 6 string and use it like a fret rocker. And this is rocking like all heck and probably needs a couple mil worth of shim there. And over here, it's not so bad, but it's still going to need some shim. A little bit, maybe 1 mil there, and maybe 2 mil or more there. And then at the back, you hold it up against the end of the fingerboard, and you can stick some material under there. Yeah, this is going to need probably a 2 mil shim at the back that covers like the back half of the nut. So yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll start with maybe a 1 mil piece that covers the entire base, and then see where that puts these. What you're shooting for, like right now, this rocks ever so slightly, and this also rocks. So what you're shooting for is once you get some shim under there, you want it to raise it up to the point where this will just begin to wiggle without touching the first fret. You put it across like the nut slot and the second fret, and it's either going to rock over the first fret or it'll just clear it and you can wiggle it. I don't know if you can see this thing wiggling, but you can wiggle it and it won't touch the fret. And that's where you want the nut at. That'll give you pretty much perfect nut height because that's just barely above the fret plane. When it's shimmed to the point where the straight edge is seated in the nut slot, touching the number 1 fret and touching the number 2 fret and 3 and so on, then you're exactly at the fret plane, go like, 1/10 of a millimeter higher kind of a thing. So here's a small bit of 1 mil I can slide in there right quick for a test. See what we get. It's going to need more than that, it looks like, on the base side. Treble side's okay. So maybe 2 mil on the base and 1 mil on the treble, kind of a thing. If you had 2 mil on the base, what would it look like? Yeah, that would be okay. Might be able to go even lower. How high was it with 1 mil on the treble? Can that go even lower? No, that's about as low as you want it. So yeah, maybe 1 mil on the treble and 1.5 on the base. Let me make some shims. Okay, treble side looks good now. Getting a little bit of wiggle here. Let me turn this around, get it on the 2nd fret. And yeah, a little bit of wiggle. And just barely clearing the 2nd fret, but not touching it, not scraping it. It's still low on the bass side. It rocks ever so slightly. So it's almost there at the fret plane level, but still just a smidge under. I tried to put in like 1 mil over on this end and try it again, and mirror gauge, and now it's kind of high. It clears, but it's kind of high. It's like, oh, at least 0.5 mil action. So yeah, it doesn't need a whole mil additional on the bass side, but it does need something. I'm going to grab a bit of brass. Okay, this is the 0.5 mil brass material, and I've got it precariously balanced in the correct position, and I can place this on, push it up against the back of the fingerboard, place this on, and it wiggles. So it looks like about 0.5 mil is going to be right. So I want to cut off just a, I don't know, just a little piece about that wide and the width of the nut, kind of a thing. Just a little rectangle. And it'll go on this end. And hopefully that should take care of it. Looks good. Okay, for the shim at the back, take a piece of 2mm, stick it up in there, see how far it goes, and you come up with about a third of the nut. So yeah, I'm going to want a piece of 2mm that goes from like maybe just inside the corner of this thing here all the way across, or centered, kind of an idea. And that ought to support the back end of the nut at the correct angle. So these are a bunch of shims left over from the last build. I don't know if they're the width of the nut, but they're in like 1mm and 2mm widths, something like that. Yeah, something like this. Just kind of an idea. It's already the width of a nut. Cool. Maybe I can just go like that. Yeah, actually, that feels pretty darn good right there. Give that a try. So I used too much super glue on that. Got a bit of squeeze out, so I'm going to need to clean this up a little. So that was an example of how to mask a straight line. You line up one end of the tape and put it down, stretch it a little bit, ever so slightly. If you stretch it too hard, tape can curve on you. So just pull it taut and then swing it over until it lines up and put it down. Cut a nearly perfect line every time. So I was going, why is it white? And it's the CA glue that I'm trying to get off. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.